What's good, everyone? This is Justin Just Rock Ramon from the Just Trek podcast, where elevation is our recreation. Super excited for you to check out our next episode as it features an incredibly inspiring outdoor industry leader, community builder, and an award-winning writer named Ali Carr, also known as Chasing Ali Carr on Instagram, and is the founder and CEO of Basecamp Outdoor and Wild Grace. We dived into Allie's earliest outdoor memories growing up in LA, from ski trips to Big Bear with her dad, to snowboarding in Mountain High, and Val Surf shop days in the Valley. Her journey from chasing fashion magazine dreams in New York City to finding herself at Outside Magazine in Santa Fe at the foothills of the Rockies, and how that chapter ignited a lifelong passion for adventure and literary journalism. Ali also shared the full origin story of Basecamp Outdoor, how it started as a 200-person Facebook group while she was unemployed and grew into a 300,000-person community connecting outdoor job seekers with brands like REI, Cotopaxi, The North Face, and more. She shared about the launch of their new job board with candidate matching technology, Basecamp Match, and their career collective marketplace featuring industry experts like Shelby Stanger for Wild Ideas Worth Living. And then she also took us somewhere deeply personal, sharing about her father's lifelong dream of sailing around the world and his disappearance at sea between Mexico and the South Pacific, and the award-winning 14,000-word piece she wrote for Outside Magazine to process it all. She also opened up about surviving cancer in 2023 and how every challenge has brought her closer to herself, her family, her 3 daughters, and her purpose. On top of all that, Ali dropped some incredible local trail gems such as Red Rock Canyon in Topanga, Sturtevant Falls in the Adam Pack Station in the Angeles National Forest, Cedar Grove, aka the Enchanted Forest in Griffith Park, and tide pooling at the far north end of Leo Carrillo State Beach in Malibu. Whether you're trying to break into the outdoor industry, find your footing after a major life challenge, or just discover your next favorite trail in Southern California, this episode is loaded with wisdom, heart, and a whole lot of real talk. In addition to this YouTube video version you're watching right now, we have an audio version on Apple Podcasts and both a video and audio version available on Spotify. You can find those links in the description. All right, let's get the trekking and get into this episode. All right, y'all, we are back at it with another episode with another inspirational guest. We're out here in the Baldwin Hills Scenic Overlook next to the Culver City Stairs with nearby Kenneth Hahn State Park. And right here next to me is Ali Carr, also known as Chasing Ali Carr on Instagram land. She is an LA-based adventurer, community builder, award-winning writer and editor, outdoor industry connector, and is the founder and CEO of Basecamp Outdoors. Very excited to say welcome to the Just Trek podcast, Ali.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you on. Deeply honored to have you on. Like you said, long overdue. And it's just funny to think back how we first connected. I originally remember it was through the Basecamp Facebook group when I was an active member, probably more around the year 2022, the early pandemic years.
Yeah.
And that somehow evolved to us exchanging emails and me sharing trail recommendations for you and your family to explore. I'm always happy to be that resource since the local trails here in LA and Southern California have been just so life-changing. But just before we dive into everything, just how have you been? And have you been able to get outside recently, do anything fun with the family, or maybe even for yourself?
Yeah, we're doing really well coming into the end of school. The school year. I have 3 kids, 11, 9, and 5.
Wow.
3 girls. Yeah, so I really make it a point for us to spend a lot of time outside here in LA, connecting with nature and making sure that, they are just having free time outside to play. Thinking back to, the days go by so fast, I'm like, what did we do recently outside? But there was a day they were kind of complaining about hiking. We went up to Topanga. We had a long travel day back to LA the day before, and we went up to Red Rocks. And there's a little side trail that we like that kind of goes to a labyrinth that someone made, and then a huge rock formation. This is one of our favorite trails. And at the end of the day, we were coming down, and they were in the stream kind of by the parking lot, and they were making clay pots out of clay that they had found on the trail. So they had been collecting the clay all day and then literally did not want to leave because they were having so much fun making these clay pots. And yeah, we still have those clay pots now up on our shelves. They've hardened and are super cool with like little tiny rocks. And yeah,
That's really special to hear
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And you just dropped a Santa Monica Mountain and also just Topanga State Park, like gem of a trail or
Yeah.
just gem of an area. Not many people know about that. And to get to the trailhead, you need a high clearance vehicle. It's a little narrow. It's not super accessible, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's one of the places in LA that when we drive there, I feel like I'm back in, New Mexico, like heading off to some river gorge,
Yes.
or in Colorado, like heading out on some of the back roads from Telluride or something. Like you actually get the feel of dirt road, kind of sketchy drop off
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
side of the road. Incredible rock formations, and yeah, you feel like you're on an adventure a bit more than maybe some of the other spots in LA.
I just went there for my first time about a year and a half ago, and it's so serene, it's so peaceful, also family friendly too, as long as you can get to that trailhead. And yeah, we have our own, I feel like there's so many Red Rock parks and Red Rock trail areas like all over the country, but
Yeah.
everyone's got their own like mini version of that. But that's really special to hear that your daughters made pots, you said,
Yeah,
out
little
of the
clay
clay.
pots. Yeah.
Maybe they'll be hosting a future workshop at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're Waldorf kids. We go to Waldorf school, so there's a lot of like handwork, woodwork.
Ah,
They're
gotcha.
used to doing a lot of making with their hands, so it's like a natural inclination for them to go and, get whatever resources they can find and like start making stuff.
And
Yeah.
just Topanga State Park, that general area is just, it's the chef's kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You
gorgeous.
can't go wrong with a lot of the trails there or just exploring around, or even just the community there. All the shops and boutiques, it's a really standout area. I mean, it's an artist colony too, so many creatives out there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
All right, Ali, so before we get into all your recent adventures and your work with Basecamp Outdoor, I do want to learn more about you and your outdoor journey and just dig deeper into that. So I want you to take us back.
Yeah.
What was your first meaningful memory out in Mother Nature?
Yeah. Well, I grew up here in LA, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad was really outdoor, adventurous. He loved to take us skiing. We would go sometimes to Big Bear for the day. So we would wake up in the dark in our ski gear and get in the car and go up and ski. We wanted to be there for first chair. So we'd be skiing. Did a lot of camping when I was a kid. We went backpacking from Idlewild to Palm Springs, whatever that trail is, when I was like still in the backpack carrier as a young child. So we spent a lot of time outdoors here in California, and that really, I think, kicked off my love for kind of outdoor adventure. I recently found a memento from maybe my kindergarten that was like, my favorite thing is, and it said camping. And I was like, oh wow, I really even loved camping like back then, and I didn't necessarily realize it, or that memory didn't necessarily come to me, but I did. So that was kind of the initial. And then in high school, I got really into surfing, snowboarding. I worked at a surf skate snow shop in the valley, Val Surf. So I spent a lot of time at Mountain High and sometimes in Mammoth, and just was out snowboarding a lot in the winter, and kind of in that action sports world
The
a
snow
little
sports
bit.
you're really into at a young age.
Yeah,
Seems like,
yeah. So that was like a little bit of like a taste of like the professional side, because you'd have sales reps coming into the store and you saw like, oh yeah, there are like some jobs in this world that you can have as a professional adult. I was a high school kid working at the surf shop, but like, yeah, there were adults kind of working in this realm. So it kind of opened my eyes to that world.
It's really cool that you shouted out Big Bear Lake and Mountain High. You know, those are the higher backcountry areas. We call them more of the alpine paradise here in SoCal, because that area is like kind of our version of like Denver. You know, like Mile High City. It's really cool that you mentioned that you remember those memories with your father going out skiing, and you said snowboarding too.
Yeah, I skied from when I was about 4 probably until 12, and then when I was 12, snowboarding really got super trendy, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna snowboard now. So I started snowboarding, and pretty much snowboarded exclusively until my kids started skiing. So for I don't even know how many years is that, a long time.
I have, yeah.
30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then I eventually started running the snowboard test for Outside Magazine. We went to Crested Butte. We went to some different resorts, brought all the boards, partnered with some other magazines, and would test the snowboards. Started backcountry snowboarding. So yeah, it really took me a long ways.
I would say snowboarding is my favorite outdoor sport that I haven't done in ages. Like I've done it 3 times in my life during more of like my college years.
Yeah.
Never got to skiing, but I just remember how exhilarating that felt. I think my first time was in Big Bear, and then when I was in Mountain High, I think I was just like tubing with my ex-girlfriend at the time or something like that.
Yeah.
But at what point would you say that getting outside or getting outdoors went from something you just simply enjoyed and it went to something that you just like needed like in your life or your lifestyle moving
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah. It's funny. I've always had kind of a little bit of like a split personality as a girl growing up in Los Angeles and kind of being drawn to like fashion and some of the more kind of trendy bits of like living in LA, shopping and the kind of senior version, and then this kind of outdoor adventure person. And so when I started my career, I knew I wanted to work in magazines. And I went to New York City, and I thought I wanted to work in fashion. So I was interviewing at Harper's Bazaar. I was trying to get into Lucky. I was like trying to get into all these fashion magazines. And then once I started working in New York, I realized that New York City really wasn't for me, that it was too much of a grind. And that's when I got into an internship at Outside Magazine. And that's really where I refound myself, I think, a little bit. So I reconnected with that kind of literary adventure person. And then really once I moved to Santa Fe, which is at the base of the Rockies, that's where Outside was based at the time, I got so into everything you could do in the mountains. So living at the foothills of the Rockies, you're mountain biking, you're rafting, you're stand-up paddling down rivers, road cycling, hiking, backpacking.
All the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Cross-country skiing, snowboarding, backcountry snowboarding. Yeah, just
Oh my goodness, Allie.
it was a dream. Yeah.
And you mentioned you were you moved to Santa Fe at that time.
Yeah.
That's the same area where White Sands National Park is, am I correct?
Same state. White
Same state.
Sands is like a few hours south.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Still haven't been to that part of the country yet. I just know about that national park.
Yeah.
But that's so special. You're at the foothills of the Rockies, like.
Yeah, northern New Mexico is quite different. White Sands is in southern New Mexico, but northern New Mexico very much looks like Colorado. I mean, it's all connected, right? So you get a lot of that just absolutely beautiful high altitude mountain environment.
So you started in the West Coast in LA, went all the way to the East Coast, New York, and then went somewhere in the middle and found yourself again.
Yeah.
How was symbolism right there, right?
Yeah.
How long were you in New York, out of curiosity?
I lasted about 1 year
Oh,
right
wow.
after college in New York City. Yeah.
Yeah, New York is a different type of energy. I'm actually originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
So I'd always make the trip up to New York to visit friends or even consider to go out there for college. It's it never stops, it never sleeps. Even if you want to chill, everything around you is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I needed a little more wide open space.
And getting more into your work with Basecamp Outdoors and all the incredible impact you just over the years have been ushering in with that platform. You know, before we get into the origin story of all of that, like how would you just describe Basecamp Outdoor in your own words to people who are not familiar?
Yeah, so Basecamp Outdoor is a digital community. We have about 300,000 people across our platforms, and it's really where we bring outdoor industry brands and organizations together with folks who work in the outdoor industry or who want to work in the outdoor industry. One of the goals from the very beginning was to make it super inclusive. The outdoor industry always had this kind of shrouded cloud around it that was hard to break through. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that you had to come with like credibility and like I climbed this 14er, so I belong. So I just wanted to create a group that was inclusive for anyone who was curious about the outdoor industry. We call it Industry Curious. And yeah, so where we bring brands and organizations together with folks who want to break in or folks who work in the industry. And we try to do that in meaningful ways to help you on your career or freelance journey. With the Facebook group, we have a beloved newsletter that's been going out now for 6 years.
I've been a premium subscriber for the past several years.
Yay, thank you. We have events that have been really meaningful for a lot of folks and brands. We had a podcast at one point.
You had a podcast?
We did,
What was the name? Was it just
It was
Basecamp?
called Outdoor Dream Jobs. Yeah.
That sounds very familiar.
Okay. Yeah, so we did that for a while. That's kind of, that we aren't doing that now. And then we have our new platform, Basecamp Match, which is a job board with candidate matching technology. So trying to bring brands and the community together in an even more meaningful way online.
Right on. And before we speak further,
Yeah.
we forgot to introduce our special guest on the show. Do you want to
Yes.
shout out your doggy real
Hey,
quick?
Mokes. This is Moki. He's also 6 years old, the same age as our newsletter.
Wow.
And he's my faithful companion. Every Wednesday morning I'm working on the newsletter. He's like perched on the chair behind me, just rooting me on.
Moki on the show, y'all.
Yeah.
And to go back to Basecamp Outdoors, your baby that you've been nurturing, and you also have a co-founder.
Yeah.
Her name's Jenna.
Yeah,
Right?
Jenna Selmer.
I guess before my next question, like, how did that, she come into the whole part of Basecamp, come into your life?
Yeah. So Basecamp started as a Facebook group. It was me. I was unemployed and looking for work. And so I brought 200 people that I knew in the outdoor industry together in this group and said, hey, let's start throwing jobs in. And it was mostly like media writers, editors, PR folks, communications and marketing folks. And eventually the group started growing. People liked it. I told them, hey, invite other people that you think might like this. And so they did. And eventually Jenna was just in there commenting on people's posts. And I thought her comments were super smart and empathetic to people's situations. And I felt like her advice was really helpful. And so I asked her if she wanted to start adminning. And so she was like, well, I'm here anyway, so I guess so. So she helped me admin. For a while as just, again, a labor of love. And then eventually, after the newsletter launched and we started a podcast, we formalized the business. I think that was in 2021, I want to say. It might be 2020, but yeah, we formalized the business and became co-founders.
What a better place to find someone as a co-founder than an active user on your platform, adding value and being just that person that you're like, oh, you're like observing, this could be someone I could possibly work with.
Yeah, and it's been a really incredible relationship. We're very complementary. I'm very operational and think more in terms of process and structure, and she thinks more in terms of relationships and marketing and building those kind of sponsorships with brands and so partnerships. So there's just skills there that are complementary to each other, and we've worked really well together over those 6 years and navigated, hiccups and bumps, but we've been able to chat through everything and just always come out stronger and more understanding of each other.
So a good 1-2 punch, a good yin and yang combo.
Yeah, kind of luck, honestly, because we didn't know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you actually pretty much answered the question I was going to follow up with next, which was what was happening in your life or career that led to Basecamp being created, unless there's some gaps you still wanted to fill in regards to that question.
Yeah, I think I was seeing other jobs groups on Facebook that were really popular and growing. There was one called Social Media Jobs. There was one called Sloan's List that had some more unique positions, creative positions, but nothing that really brought the outdoor industry jobs together, especially the creative ones. So that is I was like, oh, well, no one's doing this for the outdoor industry. I might as well do it. I always loved building resources and creating resources for other people to help them in whatever way. So it was born as a Facebook group, just kind of following along what other Facebook groups were doing. And then I got the idea for the newsletter and worked with a business coach to develop it and develop the business model. But my editorial background really informed. I really had a vision for what I wanted the newsletter to be and what it would look like, and I designed and created it.
And just speaking to Basecamp more, because I feel like it's several things now. It's evolved throughout the years.
Yeah.
Like, what does Basecamp offer today? And after you get into all that, like, how does it support people looking to break in or grow within the outdoor industry?
Yeah, so the Facebook group still exists today. There's about 82,000 people in there.
Whoa.
There are jobs, there are questions people ask looking for advice, there are introductions being made in there, and we've heard so many reports over the years of folks finding leads, interviews, jobs, clients, all those things in the Facebook group. And then we have our newsletter. We have a free version of the newsletter and a premium version. The premium version has between 60 and 100 jobs per week in the outdoor industry. And folks find that to be a super valuable resource. It's $3 a month, so that's 66 cents an issue. We're not getting rich off this, I promise. Yeah. But it does support us in a big way. So so the newsletter has tons of jobs. People use it to kind of get the lay of the land of the industry, learn about new brands every week, see different job titles. We also organize it by region, and then we have a remote section so you can kind of find jobs that are relevant for you. Mm-hmm. There's also internships, seasonal jobs, and freelance gigs in that newsletter. So it's very long. You want to open it in your browser so you don't miss out, because the email programs like to cut it off. So that's a super valuable resource and continues to be a very valuable resource today. Hasn't changed much, honestly, since 2020. It's still kind of living its life and is a dynamic living thing that does pretty well. We have a marketplace that we launched recently called the Career Collective, where you can book career coaches, you can book career mentors, and you can also book industry experts.
I saw that. I was like, this is so great.
Yeah. And it really is a great way to get personalized help with your career journey, whether you're trying to transfer in and figure out, like, how do my skills translate to the outdoor industry, or you want some help with figuring out what next steps would be, a clear action plan to try to get into the role you're trying to get into, resume help, interview help. And then industry experts, that's a really unique offering. We don't see that. I've seen career coach marketplaces other places, and those would probably be helpful too. All of our folks in the Career Collective have outdoor industry backgrounds, so all of them have some special knowledge about the industry. But the industry experts are folks who are really tenured in the industry in their specific lane. And so you can book time with them. It's kind of like an informational interview. Mm-hmm. So, we have folks who are really experienced expedition guides, if that's something you want to do. We have someone who sold their podcast to REI, so you can talk to her about that. We have Shelby Stanger. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's one of our experts. We have Jen Gurecki, who launched, a women's snowboard brand. So she can help entrepreneurs or folks who want to do email marketing. She's killer at email marketing. All sorts of industry experts who have specialties in their lanes and can really talk to you about what it's like to work in that field, potentially connect you in certain ways. So those are very valuable sessions that you can book.
There was one that I booked a few months ago. It was someone who had a background in... She was at the North Face formerly. I'm blanking out right
Marin?
now. Yes, I think so.
So so we have workshops too.
That's what I was assigned up. I was only able to catch half of it, and I still need to go back and watch the whole recording. Yeah.
So our collective has a monthly workshop every month that is there to help you on your career journey. We have guest workshop facilitators. So exactly, Marin was a guest workshop facilitator. So she did a whole session on personal branding, how to tell your story.
That's exactly what it was.
So the workshops are $25, super affordable, and we do send the recording around if you aren't able to attend, or you want to go back and reference. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, got to give you a shout out. I don't know if you knew this, but a few years ago, you were doing like these reverse interviews with these big outdoor brands such as Cotopaxi.
Yeah.
And I was watching that because it was like a lot of people. It was a whole Zoom seminar. And when they opened up their store here in Manhattan Beach, I actually went down there in person, introduced myself, and was able to be their SoCal community partner for a year and a half. So cool. We were able to do some community event programming, and it was engage the community here in LA and SoCal. So If it wasn't for your guys' Cotopaxi reverse interview of like their executives, their upper management, I wouldn't have gotten even more interested and then find out that they're opening up a store down here in Manhattan Beach, which I'm pretty sure is still there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, office hours. So, yeah, we do these reverse interviews with brands where they talk about what it's like to work there. We ask them questions, we field questions from the audience. And those exist on our website. You can just go and see who we've interviewed. There's quite a few brands on there now, and just watch those interviews and learn about the perks and benefits of working in a place. There's also some hard questions asked about what are your diversity initiatives that you're doing at your brand. So yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And also, you just have a front row seat to the outdoor industry. Like, are there any particular trends or shifts you're seeing right now that people on the outside might not realize?
Great question. I definitely see the fluctuations in the job market. So I see when the job market is kind of booming and when it's not, and that can change week to week. Right now, we're kind of in a bigger stretch. So there's more jobs being posted currently.
Is more jobs being posted like in a specific position or like part of the outdoor industry you're noticing more of?
I'm definitely seeing a lot of social media positions. I'm seeing a lot of community positions, operational positions. I would say those are definitely areas that they're hiring for a lot these days. Customer service and also sales reps. We see a lot of those positions. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how AI changes some of the jobs landscape. Although I think the outdoor companies will be a little later to adopt some of those practices. Generally, we're sometimes a little later to adopt some of the things that are happening, say, in the tech world, for instance. Yeah, and then we're seeing a return to kind of gathering community. We have, our Outside Days event coming up. We do these events called Gather, where we bring together anyone who wants to join. It's free to join. And then we have brand partnerships, so brands who come and set up hiring tables. You can come chat with hiring managers. You can meet folks from the North Face, REI, Cotopaxi, Outside, Altera Mountain Company, BOA Technology. We've got tons of brands coming. The next one's in Denver next week. I know this is probably evergreen, but end of May is generally when this event happens. We have one in Portland in April. And then in August, we'll be partnering with Outdoor Retailer, which is coming back. They're going to be in Minneapolis this year, kind of building a more community-oriented event. And then we'll be down in the South a little later with the HBCUs, the historically black colleges and universities, and working in partnership with REI there to drive a funnel or a pathway into the outdoor industry for folks coming from HBCUs.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember I listened to a pod of you and Jenna. You guys were guests on this. I think it was like financial and fitness pod.
Okay.
And it was, I remember that your first big in real life event was at Outdoor Retailer. You threw like a massive party. I remember that.
Yes, we did.
Opening night.
Yeah. We've partnered with Outdoor Retailer in the past quite a few times. Yeah, once we held the Outdoor Retailer party for them. Yeah.
And just going back to you're listing a bunch of events that you're co-hosting or producing. Like, yeah, this past year especially and last year, like it really is the experience economy right now. Like experiential events, like in real life events, community events is like the strongest thing right now because we're like half a decade removed from the pandemic. Yeah. So like right now everyone's out and about in these niche community activities. So that's really good to hear that you're like out there like pretty actively.
Yeah, people want to be with people. We're relational beings as humans. We want to be in community with other people. We've been in community with other people forever, since the dawn of man and woman.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, there is a want and a desire to be in community with each other. And part of that is, whether it's talked about or not, some subtle healing from the COVID pandemic that we all went through and that we were isolated in. And so by being together in community, we're raising, good hormones in our bodies, and that helps us heal from all that the sort of unexpectedness of COVID that it, brought
Exactly.
on.
We are social creatures by nature, literally.
Yeah.
And just since launching Basecamp, what's been a moment where you just thought like, this is exactly why we built this, or like a reaffirming moment where you're like, okay, wow, like that was really special. The impact we made, like we're on the right path.
Yeah. I think every time we get an email, a note, a LinkedIn message, an Instagram message that someone landed a job that they found through Basecamp is so special. Even when we get notes saying, "Oh, I've had interviews and leads from your group," it feels like we've made a difference on someone's path. I know personally that when you connect with other people, when you're on your career journey, sometimes those connections and networking events don't pan out right away, but over time they might come around later and pay off, or you might learn something in those interactions. And so it's just amazing to kind of create the opportunity for that magic to happen for people. So when we get those notes, also from brands, when the brands write us and say, "Hey, I hired a candidate from that event that we did," or "We met so many great candidates," like it just makes me so proud of the group that is the Basecamp community, which honestly I'm not actually responsible for, because everybody is their own person. But I think there is just a vibe that we put out that then attracts a certain type of community and talent that shows up to meet these brands and impresses them. And it's so amazing to see that play out. And I know too from my own hiring journey in Basecamp, when we've had to hire folks and we've put the job out in Basecamp and I've gotten to interview so many different candidates that I'm like, wow, like Basecamp, you're so cool. Like, how are you so cool? I love it.
It's because of their founders. The founders are very cool.
I mean, sort of.
Just radiates.
Yeah, it's super cool to see just the incredible talent that is in the community.
Really happy to hear the feedback from both, the job seekers and also the brands that are getting these candidates or these from your guys' platform.
Yeah.
You mentioned something I want to circle back to. It really stuck with me. It's like when you're networking and you're meeting brands or you're interviewing around, what you want might not happen then at that time, but like you putting yourself out there consistently, an opportunity, whether from that brand or someone else who might have been observing you, might come around later.
Yeah.
But if you're not constantly putting yourself out there, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to be noticed or valued.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely experienced that in my career. It's like you felt like it was a waste of time, but you made such an impression that actually that brand had something open up further down the line that wasn't maybe the exact position, but something maybe adjacent to it that you might find some interest in.
Totally, yeah. And I want to just add on to that we see a lot of folks sending resumes out, kind of this spray and pray method.
Yeah, shotgun method too.
Yeah.
Spray and pray.
And honestly, that's not the best route. And then we hear from folks who are like, "I've sent out 2,000 resumes in the last year and I have nothing." And so there has to be in your career hunt also an intentionality to what you're putting yourself out for. Because when you're going into a candidate pool, there is always going to be someone who is a perfect fit and always going to be putting their best foot forward for that job. Someone who's putting all their effort into that one job. So you really have to want the position that you're applying for and be that person. And if you're not putting your intentionality into your application or into your communications and really wanting to work there and showcasing that, there's always going to be someone who is. And so it's going to be very tough to break through. So just kind of sending your resume into the mush pile isn't necessarily going to do anything. I think I'll give just a personal story. I was working in PR in the outdoor industry after being in editorial for a long time. Those two fields are sort of like church and state. Like if you go to PR, you're going to the dark side and you're probably never coming back. But I really wanted to come back. I decided PR wasn't actually for me and I wanted to get back into editorial. And that's a hard thing to do once you've gone to
the dark side.
The dark side, yes. Maybe it's better now, I don't know. The landscape may have changed. But at the time, I made a relationship with an editor at Wirecutter, where I wanted to work. It was one of the only places that had remote jobs at the time. This was pre-COVID. And that editor believed in me, and I actually freelance wrote for him. I really wanted a full-time job. That was my intention. But he let me freelance write for him over a year and a half before a position opened. So I had the opportunity to really showcase my skills, show off what I can do. They were paid freelance jobs, so it helped. But like just trusting that, okay, I'm going to contribute in this way and we'll see what happens. And eventually it did pan out that I did get a full-time job there. So it's that sort of like finding that person who you want to connect with at the brand you want to work for or the company you want to have as a client, and forging that relationship and then showing what you can do over that period of time that the relationship exists. And then eventually it might grow into something bigger. About 4 months after I started working at Wirecutter, they ended up cutting the outdoor gear team.
Oh no.
So I did get laid off shortly after, but that was okay. I trust that everything unfolds how it's supposed to. And I found whatever the next job was. But yeah, it's really like, how can you really hone that relationship and hone that magic and allow it to unfold, facilitate it?
Yeah, I feel oftentimes the job seeker is so impatient, and they also don't ask themselves this question, which I think is really important. It's like, how bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to like at least connect with someone there and slowly build with that.
Yeah. It's not just send the resume. Today you have to find some folks on LinkedIn, connect with them, maybe in the Facebook group. That's a really great way to connect with folks who work at a brand that you might want to work for, is find a post in the Basecamp Facebook group from that brand, and that's probably someone who works there posting right in the group. You could DM them right on Facebook.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
I need to be more active on the Facebook groups again. I definitely had my era from like pandemic years to like 2004, and then I just fell off.
Yeah, as many of us did. And I get it. It's Facebook. Not a lot of people are on there these days.
I think it was because I was training for like Mount Whitney, and I was a part of like the Mount Whitney Facebook group, which brought me into the ecosystem of just following Facebook groups. And then I somehow came across Basecamp Facebook group, and I was like, oh, so I just started adding more and then being more active and commenting here or just adding value where I could. And I was like, wow, these Facebook groups are incredibly such great resources.
Yeah, there's opportunity constantly if you're in the right groups. Yeah.
And switching gears from your work at Basecamp, you've also lived quite an adventurous lifestyle for yourself, and you've immersed yourself in numerous outdoor experiences and pursuits. So I just love to know, Allie, just to get to know you more on a personal tip in your outdoor adventure lifestyle. Like what would you say are your top 2 to 3 adventures of all time, and why was each a favorite? And I'm sure that's a hard one because as we were speaking earlier, you're naming all the activities and sports and outdoors pursuits.
Yeah, so many incredible outdoor adventures. A lot of them, I will say, were from before I had kids, because I was able to really go out and do harder pursuits. But climbing the Grand Teton is coming to mind. I got to do that on a media trip with a PR agency who brought a bunch of writers out there. We spent the night up there on the mountain and woke up at 2 a.m. and started climbing with headlamps up the mountain over quite the exposure that we couldn't see because it was dark. But
remind me what state again Grand Tetons is in?
Wyoming, outside Jackson Hole. Yeah, and we're halfway kind of climbing up the mountain, and here comes Jimmy Chin just trotting up in his sneakers, no ropes. Yep, laps us. Yep. Yeah,
the
amazing.
Jimmy Chin.
The Jimmy Chin, yep. So I'm remembering that. I'm watching The Dark Wizard, which is the documentary about Dean Potter, a very notable and historic climber and base jumper, wingsuiter, and I got to climb with him in Bend, Oregon, at Smith Rock. So that's also a memory for me currently because I'm watching that documentary. And then what else? I had a really kind of a mellow adventure, I would say, in Patagonia, in Torres del Paine Park. And we went out looking for condors with a guide and walking through the forest there. And I forget what the stat is, but it's something like 80% of the land around in Patagonia has not been explored.
80%.
And that just really stuck with me. And you feel really remote when you're down there. I mean, you literally fly into the most southern airport before you head down to Antarctica.
That's wild.
So yeah, so just the sense of adventure and the sense of kind of wildness that still exists down there was really tangible. And I just remember the guide talking about we were walking through the forest and there were these baby saplings coming up and some, trees that had fallen. And he was just talking about how the fallen trees were the grandparent trees and their bark and their needles were nourishing the grandbabies that were coming up. And it just really made me realize how cyclical it all is and regenerative it all is. And was just such a beautiful memory for me that's really stuck with me. So that wasn't any sort of crazy core adventure, but it really touched me in a heartfelt way. Yeah.
I mean, those are sometimes the most impactful for us personally. Wow, those are some pretty incredible experiences, the three that you just named. And just to bring it more local, I always love for the listeners on this show to discover, different trails, different parks that are local to us, our local green spaces. You did mention one already earlier, Red Rock Canyon State Park or Red Rock Park.
I think it's Red Rock Canyon. I don't actually know if it's in a park. You can bring your dogs there, and you can't bring your dogs to Topanga State Park, so I think I don't know what park it's in.
It's very confusing, all the red tape.
Yeah.
How the land is managed and the
wilderness area.
Public lands, BLM land, what is this? Are there any other local trails or local green spaces that are also a favorite of yours in addition to us shouting out Red Rock?
So you told me about a waterfall hike out in the Angeles National Forest back here.
Yes. Okay.
Where when you come up, there's some donkeys that you can hire to pack in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, Chantry Flats, Sturtevant Falls, Adam Pack Station, that general area.
Yes.
In the Angeles National Forest.
Yes.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah, so my husband and I took a day date and went out there. And there's these little cabins along the trail that you can rent. And they're just so rustic. There's not running water. There's not electricity. And you can hire the donkeys to pack your stuff in to these little cabins. And some of the cabins people own or lease from the National Forest, and some of them are rentable. And it just, felt so old school and a real adventure. And I love those moments in LA. I think they're hard to find and probably harder to find most places, these days. But yeah, it has this real kind of old school, you can still have an adventure and really just settle into nature in a longer, slower way if you want to. We didn't rent a place, but it is on my mind to do.
They consider that general area Sturtevant Falls, Chantry Flats, big Santa Anita Canyon, that area that you were describing with all the cabins and the donkeys or the mules still delivering the goods to the cabin. They consider that area the Pacific Northwest of the Angeles National Forest because of its dense canopies, the creeks and streams, all the trees, the waterfalls flowing. You really feel transported to a different region, even though you're here in LA County.
Yes, yeah, there are some moments on that trail where there's a lot of moss and ferns. Yes. And the stream coming through, and you feel like you are in Seattle, on the trails outside Seattle or Portland. There is kind of that really dense, damp feel that you just don't find other places in Southern California.
And then the Adam Pack Station is a mountain cafe.
Yeah.
You can get your cold beverages, a beer. They have barbecue a lot of times, and it's a very charming spot.
Super charming. Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Okay, I'm happy to hear this because I send recommendations to people and I'm I wonder if they actually went or how they enjoyed it, because I'm a big proponent of showcasing how LA and Southern California has some of the greatest hiking trails if you know where to look.
Yeah, and the Cedar Grove is another one, which is for my kids, one of our favorite places to hike in Griffith Park.
Yes, yes.
Pretty close. Um, Very mellow walk up. I think it's like maybe 3/4 of a mile, a little incline.
Yeah, the
Just
steep
enough.
way up. Yeah.
Just enough for my kids to be like, oh, when are we going to get there? And then we're there
You're
because
there
it's not
already.
a very long trail. And you are literally in the most magical pine forest propped up above the city. So you're looking around, and I think it's almost like a 270-degree view of the city all around you. And you are sitting in this like most zen pine forest or cedar grove. So that has been, we've gone up there many times actually since you recommended it, and brought my mom there. We've recommended it to other families. It's a great trail.
Oh, so stoked to hear that. It's also known as the Enchanted Forest.
Yes. I
And
think on Google Maps it's called Cedar Grove, but we call it the Enchanted Forest.
exactly. I got put onto that from a local hiker many years ago when I first started getting into the local hiking community. And they're like, oh, yeah, there's this place called, just look up Cedar Grove on Google Maps, also known as the Enchanted Forest. It's where all the hikers like to set up their hammock and just knock out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy to think that you have this like little gem of a forest and like this wild urban park that's like the second largest municipal park in the country or something to that accolade.
Right. And the rest of it is mostly brush, dirt, not a whole lot of really forested area.
Correct,
It's
yeah.
like this one little pocket that is forested. And I do appreciate that they do have a sprinkler system. You can see they've set up a water system in case of fire to protect this amazing little piece of land. So you have to do that here in LA. You have to protect, foliage like that.
Great place to take a nap, great place to nature journal or just to meditate or
Yeah.
whatever peaceful activity.
Yeah, you don't
might
have to
wanna
drive
do.
to the Sierra Nevadas if you just want to feel like you're in the mountains for a minute. Like that's right there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now going back to your work, but going back in the past a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, something I took great notice of is that you spent a good amount of time as an editor at Outside Magazine. Just curious to know, you know, because that's such a major, you know, publication. Like, what was that chapter like for you working at Outside Magazine? And after you get into that, you know, what are some of those pieces you worked on that still stand on its own today, would you say?
Yeah. Working at Outside Magazine was a dream. I had to apply 3 times for the internship and network in order to get my application noticed. I got rejected a couple times. But I really persisted and pursued it in a very kind of direct way and secured a 6-month internship. So moved from New York City to New Mexico. Never been to New Mexico. Didn't know what to expect, but took this internship. Turned down what would be a dream job to many in New York in publishing for a 6-month internship. And I just knew in my heart it was the right move, both from a lifestyle standpoint, like needed to get out and have this kind of a bigger adventure right after college, and also from a journalism standpoint. I was just so moved and drawn by the literary journalism that Outside was producing. And knew that I'm such a writer, I've always been a writer, and so when I read that stuff, it just kind of, it gets stuff stirred up in me. So I was super excited to be in that world.
Real quick, where did that passion of writing come from? What was the catalyst for that?
It just always has been since I was in high school and would have these. I remember we had to do a writing assignment where we had to go into our backyard and then write. We had been reading Thoreau, and we had to go in our backyard, spend, 30 minutes sitting in our backyard, and then go and write an essay about that experience. And that essay for me got published in high school. I was so inspired by the process, and it just writing is the thing for me that I lose track of time. I'm just in the flow and in the zone.
Okay, I just wanted to dig into that a little bit before we kept going.
And I used to journal. I journaled forever. So I got to Outside, 6-month internship. That was great. We were fact checking and was sitting in this kind of bay with 2 other interns, so had some community there. And then after 6 months, I got hired on to continue working on the buyer's guide, so working with the gear,
Okay.
But that was only contractually. I had these kind of breaks in between buyer's guides where I had to find freelance work to fill the gaps. I was able to write some other stories for Outside during those times and other publications. And then eventually I was like, I actually can't continue this, like, this many months on, this many months off, routine that we have. So you have to hire me full time if you want me to continue.
Ultimatum.
Yeah, and they did. So I'm really glad that I was sort of courageous enough to say, like, hey guys, like, this isn't working for me. This is my boundary, and if it's possible, like, you need to hire me. So that was amazing, and I stayed there for 6 years, working on a lot of gear content and then adventure travel content, and also pitching stories. I pitched a story. I was definitely, like, sort of the youngest person on staff and very nervous in the editorial meetings to pitch my ideas. And I pitched a story about the inventor of this knee for athletes who were amputees, above knee amputees. And so this knee allowed above knee amputees to do things like rock climb and surf. And for the first time, that was the first time a device like that had been invented. So I pitched that, and I think that ended up being like a cover story or like a big feature. I didn't write it, but I was just proud that my idea was able to be assigned to a writer and get made. And then ultimately, a few years after I left Outside, my dad passed. He was sailing around the world on his lifelong dream, and unfortunately was lost at sea, somewhere between Mexico and the South Pacific, about halfway. And that story felt like it needed to be told, whether that was my own way of processing what happened or just I don't know what it was, but I felt a compulsion after, some time had passed to pitch it to my editors at Outside that I had known and worked with. And there was one, sorry, my dog is getting into my coffee over
it's
here.
okay, it's okay.
Hey. He literally just dumped it into the groundhog hole.
That is so funny. No worries.
All right, Mooks, we're going to leave it there. The
Sounded like a
groundhogs are going to be caffeinated today. So I felt a compulsion to pitch this story to my editor, one of the editors who I'd worked with, who I knew mentored young writers. So I pitched it to him, Alex Hurd, and he took the story and really worked with me. And I wrote a 14,000 word story for Outside, which was probably one of the biggest achievements of my life, for sure. Where I reported the story. I talked, extensively to the Coast Guard, to the piracy organizations, to boaters who had met my dad along his journey. I went to Mexico, where he left from, and, saw the slip where he sailed away from last, and went in and saw the documents he filled out as he was departing.
Oh, this is Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah.
And I was researching the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that writing that story, I was really approaching it from a journalistic standpoint. And then my editor said to me, well, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about your dad going? Are you angry that he did this? And it was the moment that allowed me to enter myself and go, oh yeah, how do I feel about this? And I realized that I wasn't angry. I was actually like, I get it. Like, I'm just like my dad. I understand this need for adventure and for pursuing something that feels really important to you. And it did carry risk, and we knew that. And so there's an understanding there of his pursuit and of why he needed to do that. And I would rather him have done that than never have done it and be on his deathbed and never have pursued his dream.
Yeah, otherwise he wouldn't be fully living his life, even in his
Right.
later years. Because I was going to ask you, like, how did that experience just shape your relationship with, like, risk, adventure, and just the unknown, not having it being closed for you, like officially knowing what happened?
Yeah, we don't know what happened. Although I will say, when I wrote that story, we got a letter from a doctor who was a sailor who had done that crossing. And when he read the story, he said, I think your dad had low dose carbon monoxide poisoning.
Low dose.
And there were some, like a Reddit thread that he pointed out that was a very famous Reddit thread of someone who was experiencing it and writing about it on Reddit in real time. And people on Reddit actually saved this person because they said, like, hey, this is what you're having. You need to not be in that apartment. So low dose carbon monoxide poisoning, when you're in it, you're losing your mind. As soon as you're out in fresh air, you're okay. So it doesn't kill you, but it makes you go crazy. And so there was some closure in, I don't know if that's actually what happened to him, but when you don't know what's happened to someone, you have the choice of what the story was that happened. And to me, that letter I got from writing that story gave me some information to fill in. Oh yeah, like
gaps,
that might be true. That makes sense. The way he was writing to us and talking to us, which you can read in the story. Yeah, that showcased that could be true. So that there were some pieces that came out of that actually really helped our family. Yeah.
I'm glad that you got a little bit of closure with finding out. Wow, that's pretty wild to get that feedback from a sailor. And there was a Reddit thread about that condition. Because
Yeah.
I remember when I was reading more about the story, like he said pirates were like boarding the ship or something along those lines. But then he was like, okay.
Right.
And then there was radio silence, something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, he had said there was a potential of pirates that had boarded his ship, and he was 3,000 miles out at sea in an area where there's nothing but tankers. I mean, there's no reason for pirates to be out there. There's nothing to rob. There's fishing boats and tankers. And so, yeah, so I talked to the, piracy, the leading piracy organization, and there was no reports of piracy out in that area. Most of piracy happens in docks and in marinas.
That makes sense.
So, and the fact that, yeah, he was okay and he couldn't really explain what had happened. And so, yeah, kind of told us that maybe that's not what was going on. Yeah.
Well, Allie, thank you for sharing that deeply personal story and being open about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you asked me also, like, how has that affected my relationship with risk and the unknown?
Especially of a loved one, yeah.
A loved one, but honestly, like, I've also been through cancer myself in 2023, and that journey allowed me to come out the other side really trusting that it's all unfolding as it should, and that what we go through and what we experience happens even though it might be hard, even though it might be so challenging and so difficult. It's there to help us grow and help us expand and come further into ourselves and know ourselves better. So yeah, so coming through cancer, basically every difficulty, every challenge I've been through, which there were a lot in the last decade or so, has brought me closer to myself, allowed me to get to know myself better, allowed me to prioritize my time better, allowed me to have a more nurturing relationship with my children and my family. There's just so much kind of growth and richness that comes from experiencing challenge and difficulty. And so maybe that's also inherent when we go climbing, when we introduce risk into our lives and we learn to navigate it, and we go out on a trail that maybe we don't know, and we're allowing the unknown to unfold as we go. We're building resilience and we're building capacity for situations in life that also might show up that are unexpected. Yeah.
I do remember that a few years ago. I think it might have popped up on my social media or something. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I'm happy to hear
Yeah.
you survived that and you're forged through the fire now.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
there's a stronger version of yourself for yourself and your family and your loved ones. So
Yeah.
really happy to hear that.
Thank you.
All right, Ali, so super excited to ask you this next question as you just had countless adventures, but you might have already answered it already when I asked you about your top 2 to 3 adventures of all time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If there was one hiking or outdoor experience you could relive all over again, what would that be for you?
Yes, I have this fish here on my wrist, this tattoo. I was sailing in Panama in an archipelago. Most beautiful evening. The wind was up, it was sunset, there was kind of a storm in the distance, so the light was just amazing. And I was standing on the sailboat, kind of looking out at the horizon and holding onto the bow line and really just taking the whole moment in. And this fish jumped right in front of me. It just, this perfect, like, it just jumped. And I had this moment that was like, I'm the only person in the whole world who just saw that fish jump.
Yes.
And I felt so connected and kind of grounded. When my dad passed from his sailing adventure, I got that fish tattooed on me because it felt meaningful. It felt like I saw that fish for a reason. And so if I could relive that moment, I think now, with knowing my dad is out there in the Pacific, I think it would be really amazing and connective for me.
That's beautiful. And what kind of fish was that again?
I don't know. Just a huge deep sea ocean fish.
Deep sea ocean fish.
Yeah.
This is around Panama, you said?
This was in Panama, yeah,
Whoa.
on the east coast of Panama in the San Blas archipelago. Most beautiful, like picture perfect postcard kind of place. Yeah.
The fish doesn't need to be identified. It was just a moment.
I have no idea.
Wow, that is quite a moment indeed.
Yeah.
All right, guess what?
Yeah.
It's time for the rapid fire question section.
Okay.
So the way it works, there's 2 rounds. Round 1 is outdoor focused, and then round 2 is personal. So just answer with one word. Answers are short and concise answers.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready, rock
I'm
steady?
nervous.
That's what everybody always says, but you'll get through this. All right, so round 1. Favorite trail snack?
Trail mix. Gosh, that's boring.
Hey, it's always a consistent, solid one. You can never go wrong. Trail runners or hiking boots?
Trail runners.
Desert or deserted island?
Desert.
Waterfalls or lakes?
Lakes.
Rock scrambling or surfing loose scree?
Rock scrambling.
Yeah, you're like, why is that even an option, the other one? Dawn or dusk?
Dawn.
Epic day hike or epic backpacking trip?
Epic day hike.
Mountain lions or grizzly bears?
Oh, mountain lions.
Taco Tuesday or Waterfall Wednesday?
Taco Tuesday.
Santa Monica Mountains or San Gabriel Mountains?
San Gabriel Mountains.
San Gabriel Mountains or Eastern Sierra/Sierra Nevada?
Sierra Nevada.
Of course. National park you want to visit the most that you have not already?
Grand Canyon.
Oh, you haven't been
I
there
know,
yet.
right? Surprising. Yeah.
My only memory, by the way, of the Grand Canyon is me passing out as a teenager, following my uncle down, and I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my gosh.
I woke up in the family van with them putting moist towelettes over me.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Anyways, music artists you want to hike with?
I'd like to go hiking with Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like a huge Taylor Swift
You're a
fan.
Swiftie.
Yeah.
Right on, right on.
I wonder, yeah, she would outpace me. Knowing like the fitness regimen she had for her Eras tour was like insane. Yeah.
You're a Chiefs fan too, huh? Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm in a Boston household. Absolutely all Boston sports
Okay.
are strong, yeah, in our household.
Dream collab for Basecamp.
Dream collab for Basecamp. I feel
Or
like
one
we're
of them.
living our dream collabs
Ooh,
already.
what a good
which
answer.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. It just feels like, I actually said to Jenna recently, like, oh my gosh, it feels like all the hard work that we've put in over the last 6 years finally feels like it's just like paying off. Not that we haven't had success over the last 6 years, we absolutely have, and I'm so grateful for how Basecamp has organically grown. But it feels like this year there was really like just a lot of things coming into fruition. And so, yeah, that's been amazing to see and feel.
So happy to hear that. And that's
Thank you.
it's a reminder, like you got to put in the years and the work to see that fruit really come, full circle.
Yeah.
Greatest fear on the trail?
Rattlesnake.
So real, especially as we've been entering soon to be summer season.
Yeah.
They're everywhere in LA and SoCal.
Um,
Favorite camping meal?
Favorite camping meal? Once we made chocolate cake in a Dutch oven
What?
on a river trip.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
buried coals in the ground and put the Dutch oven in and allowed the chocolate cake to cook over many hours.
No
Yeah,
way.
super cool. Yeah.
In one word, how does hiking make you feel? Or just the
Um,
outdoors in general?
Free. It's free.
What's your ideal outside temperature?
72 and sunny.
Most underrated outdoor job?
Um, I always like to throw a toss to the retail folks because when you work in retail, you are gaining so many skills. You are understanding the customer, you know everything about the product, you meet sales reps, you have incredible opportunities to network with folks from inside the various brands that you sell because the sales reps are coming into the store. And then also customer service skills. I think all of those skills combined and opportunities combined can lead you quite seamlessly if you're looking to move into headquarters. It's like an incredible pathway and it's overlooked.
Great answer. Very thorough, too.
Yeah.
Favorite outdoor activity to do with the fam?
I have been wanting to head back up to Leo Carrillo lately to do some tide pooling. Yeah.
Oh,
Just
that's
out on the
incredible.
rocks, and we like to see what we can see, the anemones and the urchins and shells, and it just feels like one of those days where like there's no destination. It's just about the experience and exploring and being with what is.
Yeah, slowing down and being a naturalist, the tide pools are such a phenomenal part of the ecosystem, like touching the little sea anemones gently and observing the sea slugs. Like there's so much
Yeah, the
in the tide
sea
pools.
stars,
The sea
yeah.
stars. Leo Carrillo is always like an all-time favorite of mine up the Malibu coast. Like you have that hidden sea cave tunnel on the other side where you like kind of go over that rocky outcropping and then there's like a tunnel in the back. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always go to the very farthest edge of the northern part of Leo Carrillo and hike down the cliff and spend a day on the beach.
Yes, yes.
It's one of the most beautiful spots. It's a little hard to get to, especially with little kids. You've got to hold them and be kind of careful on the trail. But yeah,
That
it's special because there's not a lot of people there.
and that north part of the Leo Carrillo is dog friendly, I noticed too.
It is. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
bring your dogs.
All right, that concludes round one. We take a quick 15-second break. I'm gonna sip my water.
Yep. Yeah, I'm enjoying this river beverage, blackberry lavender tea.
Oh yeah, that's I took that before I went to sleep last night, and I felt like I got a few extra solid hours of REM sleep.
Okay, I have to go work after this, so hopefully it doesn't.
Okay, hopefully it doesn't have that
I
effect
have
on
to
you.
get my coffee out of the groundhog hole.
That is too funny. You are just acting a fool in this pod. All right, we're gonna be wrapping up really soon. Round two. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready, rock steady?
I'm warmed up now.
Okay, you good now. Favorite comfort food?
Pasta.
Favorite emoji?
I love the emoji of, I don't even know what it's called. It's like the happy face with the hands like this. Cause
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
the one like this.
It makes me feel like, come, let me have you. Like,
Yeah.
let me embrace you.
You embracing all your daughters.
Yeah.
What's your hidden talent?
I love to sing. I don't really sing anywhere. I've done karaoke a couple times begrudgingly, but yeah, I love to sing.
Oh, right on. You must be a part Filipino because Filipinos are all about karaoke and singing. I'm Filipino. App you're currently using the most besides Instagram, and if you have a Basecamp app, don't include that.
What app am I using? What's a fun one? I mean, I use WhatsApp a lot because there's a lot of class chats happening there for my daughters.
It can be about utility. It doesn't have to be fun necessarily.
Yeah, and then WeatherBug is my weather app that I enjoy.
Oh, Weatherbug. I'm not familiar. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll check that out. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to? It could also be a period of time that you did not live in necessarily.
Uh-huh. What period of time? I think I would actually want like to go back to a time when we were really intertwined with nature and really looked at it as sacred and and as gods, essentially, because it kept us alive. It still does keep us alive, but we're disconnected from that because we have so much access to everything now. But yeah, I don't think it's like you wouldn't live for very long and it wouldn't be a super comfortable time. But I think there's like this divinity of nature that was held back then that I think would be amazing to experience.
Yeah, living in like true reciprocity with the land. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Kind. Ooh,
And that's a weird question when people
I know.
you just have to answer it.
Creative and also logical.
Kind, creative, logical for the record. And here's the final question of the rapid fire question section. You ready?
Yeah.
Favorite sound?
Favorite sound?
And take a moment if you
Ooh.
need.
Oh, I know exactly what it is. Okay. It's owls. Owls. The sound of owls. So when I was a kid, growing up here in LA, but I grew up in the hills, so we had a little bit more nature. There was an owl, or maybe several owls, who would perch at night, and sometimes we would hear them. So I find it extremely like calming and peaceful. And then we were in Ojai recently, which is a small town outside of LA, as you know. And we were taking care of some horses, and we were walking the horses back to their stalls from this meadow, and it was evening, and there were owls in the trees above us all around. And there was like surround sound of owls hooting above us, and it was like evening, and Ojai is so beautiful, and we have these horses, and like it was just outrageously gorgeous. And just hearing that sound, which is so clear and reverberant, it just like gets you right in the chest.
Right in
yeah.
the feels. You're like, what is life right now?
Yeah.
Looking
Can
all
I
around.
just live where this is? I'll just stay here.
All right, we're done with the rapid fire question section.
Awesome.
You survived.
Yay! That was fun.
And now we're pretty much at the end of the episode, but before we conclude it, I always turn the spotlight back to the guests.
Yeah.
Allie, do you have any final words, any final thoughts you want to share to the friends and family, the outdoor community, the base campers out there? The floor is yours.
Yeah, couple things. One, Basecamp Match. So this is our new site that we've been investing in over the last 2 years, building, and are in soft launch currently. Premium newsletter subscribers have access to it, but a lot of brands are posting in there. And then we'll be out of soft launch soonish. I can never say with tech when we will, because it always takes longer than we think. But that will be open to the public soon. Job board with candidate matching technology. Employers can come, post jobs, get candidate lists that are targeted for their job. And same for candidates. They can get job lists that are targeted to their preference and see what percentage of a match they are, which is really cool.
That's incredible.
So that's Basecamp. That's what's happening with Basecamp right now. And then personally, I've also been exploring another venture for myself, which is birth doula work. So I'm sort of getting a little bit of my wilderness cup filled with working in the birth world, because birth is wilderness. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. It is tied back to our very nature as humans, to our animal selves, to the part of us that really came and is from nature. I mean, we are from nature, but, and so I've been working with expanding families and helping them navigate this journey that is unknown, helping them trust the process, trust their body, that it will work and birth in the way that we were designed to. And it feels a little bit like being like a guide on a trail on a mountain, because I'm sort of leading them through this unknown terrain that I'm familiar with, but they're not. And so I get to hold this journey in a really sacred and special place, because they're allowing me into this very intimate moment and intimate journey in their lives. And I don't take that lightly. So my birth doula business is called Wild Grace. I love to work with outdoorsy families here in LA, but really anyone also who is just interested in moving through this journey of motherhood as a transformative experience and a rite of passage. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I meant to bring that up after the Basecamp
All good.
portion, but I'm glad that you're closing out the pod with another outdoor endeavor. All right, we're at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, all your wondrous work. Allie Carr, Basecamp Outdoor, Wild Grace, Just Trek Podcast, Elevation as a Recreation, and we are out. Peace, y'all.